Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is February the 12th, 2026. Hopefully this episode finds you well, in good spirits and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Happy Thursday to ya. Hopefully the day has treated you well. Hopefully you're feeling good. As for me, I'm on the up. Things are all right. Today was overall solid. We got up, we got to work, no problems there. Work was overall even keeled. I got to stay on my crusher all day. Didn't really have to move. It was cold, but overall fine. It even warmed up. And that's the thing that's so frustrating, right? It warmed up a bit. Like, we're still in that almost spring teaser vibe, but like it was still so cold. It was cold enough, like, and it didn't feel like it warmed up on the first floor of the warehouse. That's for sure. So, it was what it was. Overall, it was a fine day on the job. Post work, we went to the gym, and I expected it to be busy, and that's exactly what I got. Came in, all the Smith machines were taken. That was a bit of a bummer. We got started on free weights though. That was good. I did, a couple of Security sets. And I felt really solid about that. I'm like, okay, we'll take it. And then as I was getting done with that, I look over at the Smith machines and I noticed that, like, halfway through my sets, I noticed this, but like, at one point there were two machines that just had weights on them. Like, they were not racked. They're not re-racked or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So plates were on, bars just there, and like they didn't pull anything back up or anything. And I gotta say, that is probably my biggest pet peeve. I don't know, maybe for some people they hate when they don't see a person wipe down a machine, yada yada yada. Like, okay, whatever, it's fine. If that's your gripe, that's your gripe. For me, leaving a Smith machine, leaving your weights out unracked it's the original sin. That is the one that I'm going to send you to the gulag for. You're not Tomato Town, the gulag. And who's going to be waiting for you? Me, with a 45-pound plate, ready to finish the shit. Okay? No, fuck you, man. That's so shitty. Don't do that. If you're that guy, change. About face, okay? Be better. Do better. All right? But, I did take advantage of this because in a way that's kind of like subtly bookmarking it. So like people don't take it, right? Well, obviously you don't respect anything. So I'm taking this machine. That's my logic. If I knowingly hawk that machine for more than 5 minutes and you're not back, well, sorry, you had to take a shit, brother. I don't know what to tell you, man. Hold it in next time. I don't know. But in this situation, it did work out for me. And, I took them little baby weights off and then got to work. And it felt good to just be back on the Smith machine. I'm saying it like I haven't been on it in like weeks. And it's just been like a couple of days. But y'all know how I get. I've talked about this momentum shit. And I've kind of come to terms that, look, this just isn't going to go the way that I want for this chunk of the year. Maybe it's just a seasonal thing. Maybe it's a little bit longer. Time's going to tell there. Who knows? But I have to just be adaptable. Like, I've made a program that I really like and I really like enjoy doing. But I know that the best thing about my program is it's so simple and very easy to tweak on the fly. And you're generally still getting the same output. Like, you're not losing much if you have to change. So I think I'm just in the phase where I need to lean on that a little bit more, maybe even curb a bit of my expectations in terms of like the goal of hitting 405. But I still think, we're knocking on wood, that I will be able to hit that deadlift by year's end. I hope so. But I'm also content that if I don't, I think at the end of the day, it really just feels good to come in and have the opportunity to work out. Like, I'm definitely at that place in my life, and that alone feels good. So we take those. But yeah, the rest of the workout went well. I didn't do any filler work since I did so much on the front end there. Did some core work, did some cardio. W's all around for that. So yes, we love that. Post work or post gym, we go home. We have our snack, we have our stretch, we do some research. I will say I was a bit discombobulated. I had that situation where you're gonna yap with your friends, you're gonna like kind of just decompress, you're gonna relax, maybe a little too much, and we just overall have a decent amount to cover. So mea culpa in advance if this is a bit sloppy, bit messy, but you know we're gonna do the best we can. Hopefully I don't get lost in the weeds. You feel me? All right, let's go ahead and do our startup and let's get into some news. I will say a nice little thing that's been happening with the Olympics is it's like always on in the break room. So you get to see some of that. And then also I find myself tuning in while I'm doing my cardio stuff. Because it's nice to see people be like top athletes. I don't know. It's always cool to do that. I hope I never get to an age where I see people doing like cool sports stuff and I go like, oh, that's boring. I don't ever like give a fuck about that. Boo. Like I always at least want to appreciate it. It might not ever be my bag or my jam. Like you're never gonna catch me doing an ice luge or ski jump. But like definitely cool to see motherfuckers get they shine white on. You know what I mean? So hell yeah, salute to that. Yeah, and this is the one time of the year that I kind of get that flicker of like, yeah, go America, get them. Do it. Like that's why I think it's so crazy to see, like we've talked about this before, like Trump talking shit on Olympians, and then also other politicians doing the same thing because they want to impress their fucking daddy. So fucking whack. What fucking loser behavior, bro? Why don't you support a winner? Ugh. Anyway, I will say though, I think there was a story. I didn't track this down that hard. Maybe this was like a Norwegian competitor. But I think they like admitted or confessed like live on air that they cheated. I was like, what? Drama? Tea? What the fuck? I should be covering that. I don't know, but I'm trying to avoid Olympic drama this year. Okay, we're trying to keep it chill. You know, we talked about the crotchgate, and I think hopefully, knock on wood, we're gonna leave it there for Olympic drama. Which, by the way, nothing to report there so far. No enhanced bulges for the lift. You know, everything's good. Everything's irie so far. Hopefully, it stays that way. Anyway. I want to do a little bit of catch up. I didn't cover this last night. I don't know, the way things were stacked up, I just didn't get to it. That's my bad. And also, you know, I try to avoid doing the obits. I've said this before, I'll say it again. But like, this was one where I saw the reactions from some of my friends. I saw the reaction from other celebrities and stuff. And just hearing the story definitely kind of, you know, it compelled me a bit to like want to at least send some condolences, say my flowers, you know what I mean. But yes, from CBS News, Dawson's Creek co-stars remember James Van Der Beek, 1 in a billion. Now, we're not really going to go through the article. I'm just kind of, you know, just using it as a reference point, really. But James Van Der Beek's Dawson's Creek co-stars are sharing memories and tributes to him after his death this week at 48 years old. He passed away from I'm sure I'm fucking this up, colorectal cancer. And at 48, that's so young. I believe like 6 children, his wife, leaving them behind. I mean, you know, leaving that, like, that's sad. It is a sad state of affairs. I know they posted a GoFundMe, you know, for the whole funeral and stuff like that. And I don't know. There are people making hay where it's like, well, he's getting all this money for a GoFundMe, and like you're doing all this for a funeral, but you got $1 million house. I'm like, well, one, guys, can we look at the price of houses in general? 2, I mean, this guy was auctioning off like Dawson's Creek Varsity Blues like memorabilia to like stay afloat. So you know what I mean? I'm personally not yelling at them for having $1 million house. I'm not going to be that stinky of a leftist about this. I don't know. By all means, go off if that's what you want to do. But you know, it's a shame to lose someone so young. And like this, it's you know, it's really sad. You know, to have to, I'm sure you don't have to go through that. I'm a person who's lost parents, you know, 1 to cancer. So, I mean, I guess technically both. Dad did go from had bone cancer, but anyway, you know, it's so fucking devastating to have to lose someone that way, and you know, my heart goes out to everyone who is, you know, mourning that loss. I know I'm definitely not the one to really, I don't know, encapsulate his legacy or memory that well, for sure. I got to be honest with you. This is real talk, no filter. I only reference Dawson's Creek to just to just make a bit. It's just a bit for me. It's pretty white kids with problems. And hey, don't be mad at me. Matt TV made that joke first. I stole it from them, and they were right. I'm sorry, but that being said, it goes to show how much of like a cultural phenomena, like how of the times, how of the '90s, like James Van Der Beek and the whole cast of Dawson's Creek really were. You know, and, you know, I know I can't say enough. I'm sure people could say it better. But yeah, I did want to say condolences. I realized like after, last night, I was like, damn, like this was one I should have done. And really, I know that there's always, you know, people who pass, and I usually only cover maybe a handful of people that, okay, well, I watched that thing. I really was about that person. Like, I'm gonna really miss that. You know, I usually talk about those. Because I feel like it at least gives me the best platform to do so from the best space and place. But once again, when I heard the outpouring of love and support to his family, and you know, shit, even what was it, Carlton? I can't remember his fucking name. I know I'm fucked. Alfonso Banks or something. Alonzo Banks. You know what I mean? Dude from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He was apparently a really good friend to James. So, you know, like just hearing their testimonies about it, just talking about him was just like, damn, very moving. So there you go. We're starting off there. But let's move on. We got to talk about ICE getting the fuck out from Axios. ICE surge in Minnesota is over, Border Czar Homan says. The Trump administration will end its immigration crackdown in the Twin Cities, White House border czar Tom Homan announced Thursday. The 10-week surge roiled Minnesota, left 2 U.S. citizens dead, and proved politically toxic for the White House. Homan said at a Thursday morning news conference that a significant drawdown of roughly 2,000 remaining federal agents is underway and will continue through next week. So that's good. I think the last time we covered this, they were talking about like 700, but they were still leaving a lot of people there. So that was not enough. People were saying like, no, there needs to be definitely more. This is a step in the right direction, but more needs to happen. So this looks like, okay, this is what we are getting to the winding down. But of course, this isn't over. There's still going to be ICE out there conducting, you know, operations and fucking whatnot. It remains to be seen. Now, we've talked about what was the negotiation that kind of tipped this scale to them leaving, right? Obviously, you know, things escalated after Alex Preddy died. We talked about Renee Good as well. But there was essentially, Homan comes in, takes out Bovino. He's gone. Happy trails for whatever. But essentially, Tom Homan was saying, okay, you guys got to let me back in them jail cells, baby. You got to give me them. You got to give me them immigrants. I need them. And essentially, some soft deal was reached. I feel like we've established that. Homan has said that. Now, in terms of how cooperative, how effective this turnover is going to be, in terms of from like actual sheriff's office departments, whatever, police departments, and like sending out immigrants back into Customs and Border Patrol, all that fucking shit. I don't know. We will see. Time's going to tell how deep that's going to go. But at least in terms of from Minnesota's side, or Minneapolis, my bad. No, it's Minnesota. I'm not wrong. But I can say both here. But in terms of from Minnesota's side, they're saying, look, we did not agree. We are not changing anything. Like, they are leaving more or less of their own volition here. But yeah, I do think to some extent a deal was reached, but once again, it's just a matter of how deep does that deal go, I guess is what I'm trying to say, what I'm trying to get at here. Let's see. I mean, I guess I can read a little bit of a quote here. Governor Tim Walz told reporters that nothing has changed for the state, which maintains that it already complies with ICE detainer requests. And that's the thing, too. This is one of the many things that they are trying to peel back or revert back to administration-wise, is that they want things like more access to jails so that they can, once again, make that turnover happen faster and be more efficient so they can up their numbers. They also want to essentially erase sanctuary cities. They really fucking hate that shit. So any way that they can to either diminish that shit or take it all the way, they are down. Like, if they can make a church be like, no, don't have any people come here. Like, but it's like, no, we want people to come here to worship. Like, they are part of our congregation. So no, they're going to come here and be safe here. And essentially, like, you see the Trump administration being like, boo, we hate that. It's wild. It's wild to hate the notion of sanctuary cities to me. I think that makes you an evil person. But, I mean, to each their own. To each their motherfucking own. So, yeah, I definitely wanted to talk about this. One thing I did want to close out, too, we're not going to dwell too long on it. I'm picking this up from MSN, sorry, not MSNBC. But Minnesota anti-ICE protests throw sex toys at federal vehicles. Now, I woke up to that video, and gosh, I think it's Operation Dildo Blitz or something like that. If you look that up, you should be able to find the video. Operation Dildo Search. I'm sorry, dude. There's just something about motherfuckers just lobbing a fucking dildo and then that shit just getting stuck on some fucking ICE vehicle, and they're just like, yeah, we gotta take that off. But then also, this is a hostile situation, and then you just have like the aftermath of like them like picking up these big like pink, purple, all colored kind of dildos and like having to throw them out, like throw them away. It's a sight to motherfucking behold. So once again, you gotta give it up to the people of Minneapolis, the people of Minnesota. Way to say fuck ICE, way to say fucking ICE out. You know what I mean? Doing it in spectacular fashion. I definitely am gonna take some notes. Goddamn. So yeah, I want throwing that on the bobby. Next story is actually another update from Politico. Federal court blocks Hegseth effort to punish Democratic senator. So yeah, we're back on Mark Kelly. I should have technically covered him yesterday, I think, because he had already got a dub in the situation previously, but this bundles it up quite nicely. So we're going to run through that real quick. Let me get some water. Oh, man. Okay. A federal judge has sided with Senator Mark Kelly to stop Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth from punishing the former Navy captain for advising troops not to follow illegal orders. U.S. District Judge Richard Leon, in a Thursday ruling, issued a preliminary injunction blocking the Pentagon's effort to demote the Arizona Democrat's rank and reduce his retirement pay. I believe they say this later in the article. It is important to mention, I think, especially these days. But granted, it always is important to kind of know where these judges kind of politically lean. It definitely kind of can help show you the influence, right? But in this situation, this was a George Bush appointee. So this was one of those situations where the situation was so egregious that like a Republican fucking judge is like, yeah, no, dude, like I can't abide by this. Like this is icky and stinky and I don't like it. This court has all it needs to conclude that defendants have been trampled on, or let me run this back. This court has all it needs to conclude that defendants have trampled on Senator Kelly's First Amendment freedoms and threatened the constitutional liberties of millions of military retirees, Leon wrote. To say the least, our retired veterans deserve more respect from their government, and our constitutions demand they receive it. I really see a judge use an exclamation. So I'm like, whoa, you really love the troops, buddy. The decision is the second legal setback this week for the Trump administration's campaign to punish Kelly and 5 other Democratic lawmakers who released a video last fall telling military personnel they don't have to adhere to illegal orders. The Justice Department on Tuesday failed to secure criminal charges against the 6 Democrats, all of whom have military or intelligence backgrounds. I believe, Elena, I fucking can't remember her fucking name. I'm going to scroll just to fuck that up. Alyssa Slotkin. I always forget that she is CIA, or at least former CIA. And I'm like, that's wild. Because I'm not sure if this is a person who's like trying to like make a political run like for president, or if they're just doing this to like just up their political rank. But either way, anytime I go, oh, like that's a CIA tag, like I got to keep my eye on that person. I gotta remember. Let's see here. This administration was sending a message to millions of retired veterans that they too can be censored or demoted just for speaking out, Kelly said in a statement. That's why I couldn't let it stand. Hegseth vowed the ruling will be immediately appealed. It's just imagine being such a fucking loser, dude. Like, you're literally mad that the group of guys and gals got up on a video and they said, hey, just so you know, if the president is telling you to do something illegal, you shouldn't do it. Just don't do it. And look, we can rewind back to my take back then. Did I think these Democrats were being stupid for doing this? Yeah, a bit. It's a bit performative. It's a bit, look at us. Like, hey, we're telling troops to do the fucking right thing. Yeah, the troops that are a part of the military industrial complex who are like, yeah, I did what I needed to do to get my fucking Charger, bro. Like, I don't care. I'm going to come in tomorrow and do my job. I don't care if it's an atrocity. Like, yeah, man, they're going to do what they do. Like, they know what they signed up for. That's kind of my fucking take. It still fucking stands here. That being fucking said, the Trump administration is being big fucking dumb babies about it. It is crazy to be like, you guys can't talk shit. How dare you talk shit? It's insane that we live in a situation that President Trump fucking heard this shit, gone on his Truth Social app and said these people are seditious traitors and they deserve to be killed. I'm paraphrasing that, but those two parts are true. He did say that they were being seditious and that they deserve to be put on trial and killed, or at least he re-truthed it. Like, that's crazy. You're being so out of pocket, man. And so much so that it's blowing back on you in such a bad immediate way. Like, going all in on these fucking situations only just makes the moment drag out for longer. And then if and when you do lose, then you look like a fucking clown show. This is a big reason why you see the Trump administration trying to do anything and everything to dodge court situations. They do not want to take things to trial. At least 99, I think, % of the time. Obviously, I'm just throwing a random percentage out there, like that's what people do. But because we're about to literally cover a situation where they're like, actually, we would love for you guys to take us all the way to the Supreme Court, because if we win, then we get it. Anyway, I'm going to get to that in a second. But this is overall a dub. I still stand by everything I said in previous episode, about these Democrats. Like, cool video, guys. Awesome. Good to know what side you're on when history comes back around. Awesome. You're doing so much. Awesome. Support our troops. Whatever, man. Like, I'm sorry. It doesn't really do anything for me. The only reason I'm getting a smile about this is because it's egg on Hegseth. It's egg on fucking Trump. Like, any good. I'm always happy to fucking see that happen. And cool to see a judge be so passionate about this shit. But once again, this also goes to show that, the Trump administration is always going to look, or probably always going to look very dumb if they're ever in a situation where they have to go against law enforcement or military. Like, they are one of the few ensconced fucking things in our, our country that we are going to fucking defend to the hilt, because they know that we need those resources to, I don't know, oppress people. In-house and out-house. You just need them, so they gotta be on side. It doesn't matter what side of the fucking, aisle they're on, okay? Red, blue, purple, whatever. So yeah, this judge knew that he knew his role. Like, what can I say? Anyway, let's move on. Let's talk more fucking Trump-verse. Let's talk more legal shit from the BBC. Trump revokes landmark ruling that greenhouse gases endanger public health. U.S. President Donald Trump has reversed a key Obama-era scientific ruling that underpins all federal actions on curbing planet-warming gases. The so-called 2009 endangerment finding concluded that a range of greenhouse gases were a threat to public health. It's become a legal bedrock of federal efforts to rein in emissions, especially in vehicles. The White House called the reversal the largest. I'm sorry, this makes me laugh. I haven't even gotten to it. Called the reversal the largest deregulation in American history, saying it would make cars cheaper, bringing down costs for automakers by $2,400 per vehicle. Wow, superior value. Okay, I'm laughing because you might think, hey man, a couple of bands, hey, that's cheaper. Cheaper is always better. Brother, this is already offset by the goddamn tariffs that Trump has already put into play. Not to mention that number is only gonna fucking go up. It's not coming down. You're not gonna see this fucking number if and when this all comes to fruition. So we are fucking the world even harder. We're gonna make the bleed happen even faster. And oh, you saved a couple of bands, hypothetically. Cool, man. This is so worth it. We're so up. Environmental groups say the move is by far the most significant rollback on climate change yet attempted, and are set to challenge it in the courts. Now, this is the issue, right? Because the way this all goes, we're going Isaiah mode here. If you challenge this and they run it all the way up to the Supreme Court, if the Trump administration wins, it becomes this kind of legal lockout for it. And the only way then to get this reinstated, to give the EPA the power again, is to go back through Congress and get it, which you could do, but you would have to have, once again, the kind of supermajority that Donald Trump has now. And we've seen how much of a fucking clusterfuck fire that already is. And he's supposed to have all the juice and be the biggest fucking winner. Okay? He got one big, beautiful, big back bill, and that's about all. Okay? And a bunch of dumb other shit. And some shit that he'd even really want. And he'd twist his arm about, like, yeah, you gotta show us the Epstein shit, man. God damn it. So, this doesn't look good. Like, him getting the power to just turn this off, this regulation off, is not gonna bode well. And it maybe saves him the $2,400. Maybe. It is very interesting to see where like automakers are going to be with this. Are they now going to try to revert back and just say fuck the regulations, or are they going to play this cautious, saying, well, in a few more years maybe Trump fucking loses and the president is fucking blue again, we got a fucking blue hog in office, we got a Dem, and then what? Are they going to make us change it back? Like, we have no idea. Do we stay the course? Do we try to keep focusing and maybe even just move closer to EVs? What's the move? Who can say? I think that the answer is probably they're going to, debase themselves and, go for whatever is the cheapest option. Who gives a shit? And, worst case, they can fight it in court if, whatever future president administration has a problem. I don't know. Maybe they just kind of take like more of a neutral space take or whatever. But overall, this is a loss, right? To me, it's a loss. It is a shame to see this happen. And I know, am I the biggest environment guy? Am I the biggest go green guy? No, I'm fucking not. And I feel like that's pretty apparent here. That being said, it is why I do have the take I have about, like, once again, crying about data centers. It is a real issue. That is a real fucking problem. But do you think you're living in a timeline where the United States of America actually gives a rat's ass about that? Because they don't. They just don't. The Trump administration does not. They are clearly going to say, okay, we don't care about this, but we are going to give AI any kind of fucking, Silicon Valley fucking startup, all the keys to the castle to fuck this shit up so that we can get maybe a better fucking large language learning model or whatever the hell. Like, that's what they care more about. And also, do you think actually a Democratic president or more liberal president is actually going to give that much of a damn? Like, I mean, maybe they do. Maybe you get, like, once again, an Obama style, thing like we had 2009. But maybe that's a maybe. Biden sure as shit didn't do much. Goddamn, it was like he was like a Band-Aid kind of president, and there was no advancements, there was no progress in that regard. So once again, I do see these motherfuckers on both sides of the aisle saying, yeah, AI is great, we should definitely be cooking that shit, we should be doing more of that. So my hopes are not very high. That is for sure. Like, I think another big environmental talking point this week was China's emissions have been a bit lower. Granted, not like so much lower that we're like, oh, so happy, so great, but at least not going up. That's good. They're actually doing some things that are energy saving because they realize, like, hey, in the long run, that's going to net us more money to have these kind of projects, have these kind of options. So that's good. But that being said, it doesn't bode well. Like, I like that China is smart enough to use that kind of soft power to, like, say, hey, we're going to use this at home. We're going to potentially sell and spread that technology because it stands to make us money. So cool. That's good for the goose, good for the goddamn gander. Awesome. Also, I really, now that I've talked about this environmental stuff or whatever, I kind of want to now just talk about China. It wasn't on the news docket, but I did get a bit of an update listening to the Daily about the general purge situation, investigation. There have been some updates there, and potentially I might have to say a mea culpa, because, you know, she definitely got the motherfuckers out of there. Apparently the top general that he ousted was like a childhood friend or something like that. Like both their families, their fathers were like in, what was it, in like government or military or whatever. Like they've been in the political scene. They've been big in China. I don't know. I'm saying this pretty poorly. This is all on the fly. Sorry. But yeah, I mean, there's been, I guess, more details that have come out about that, you know, that are interesting. I don't really want to get into the weeds too much about it. But yeah, it looks like, yeah, he took him out a bit, maybe, or things came to a head for some reason, or what have you. And G was like, look, I want to make some things happen in the near future, and maybe you guys aren't on board, or maybe you guys are doing shit that is untoward that I don't like. Like, I don't know, maybe working for the West. That's alleged, of course. But either way, you're out. You know, you had my favor. I had you on the take, or you were not maybe on the take, but like you were actually going past your retirement. I liked you so much, but now that's done. You're under investigation. You're out. Which, you know, hey, that's hard. But once again, I don't love covering the shit, especially with no reference. But even when I do have a reference, it sucks because I just feel like it's always biased, man. Like it's never from China. We're always getting someone's perspective on it, you know, like the outside POV. So yeah, I don't know. There we go. I'm just in full yap mode. We have one more story, and it's overall a good story, so I'm happy that we're closing out on a good note. But yeah, let's take our last break, and let's go ahead and then walk it out. I literally told myself, I'm like, Isaiah, don't talk about China. And I was like, no, I want to. I just want to. I listened and I learned, and I want to tell you guys what I learned. That's really what this feels like a lot of the times. It's like me coming home and just telling you how my day went and then what I learned today. Oh man, that's the Freudian situation at play here. I don't know. Ooh. All right. Ooh, second wave. From the Associated Press. Buddhist monks' 15-week walk for peace ends in Washington, D.C. A group of Buddhist monks bearing a message of peace walked into the heart of Washington, D.C. on Tuesday, greeted by large, joyful crowds as they completed their 15-week trek from Texas. Could you imagine, from Texas to Washington, D.C., you fucking walk Forrest Gump style for peace? I could never do it. That's so hot, my feet would be barking. And not to mention, it went from hot to cold real fucking quick. And I mean, it's the wintertime. So in general, you know what I'm saying. Anyway, let's continue. In their saffron and maroon robes, the monks became fixtures on social media as they made their way through the southeastern United States, along with their rescue dog, Aloka. Their simple mission, to advocate for peace, has, I don't know why I said it in that cadence, has resonated across a beleaguered country and appeared especially welcome in a city at the center of political strife and power. Thousands gathered along icy sidewalks to watch the monks' quiet procession that began in late August. So it's crazy, too, that they started in October 25th of last year, and they've been walking this entire time. But it's just very cool that I don't know, people got into this in a really good way. Sorry, I'm resisting the urge to just do this Isaiah's way. In the afternoon, the monks stopped at the Washington National Cathedral, where they were joined by more than 100 other Buddhist monks and nuns. It is overwhelming for us, said the Venerable Bikiku Panakara, the group's charismatic and soft-spoken leader, on the steps of the cathedral. Flanked by dozens of faith leaders across traditions, including Washington Episcopal Bishop Marianne Booty, or it's got to be Mary. That's probably, I don't know, Marianne Buddha. That would be crazy if it's Buddha and she's chilling with the Buddhists. Damn, bars. Who helped host the interfaith gathering. Panakara was visibly moved by their shared cause for peace. This is a moment I will remember for the rest of my life, he said, and I hope you do the same. As the monks walked single file down city streets, people cheered them. Some shushed the crowds, urging them to be silent and reverent, but the monks acknowledged the people's enthusiasm with subtle nods and smiled at those calling out sadhu, which, mea culpa if I'm getting that wrong, an expression in Buddhism that means well done. I do want to get to the one sad part about this, but I want to add that despite this, they still continued their walk. The trek has had its perils. In November, outside Houston, the monks were walking on the side of were walking on the side of a highway when their escort vehicle was hit by a truck. 2 monks were injured. Venerable Mahadam Thomason, excuse me, had his leg amputated. So when I initially heard this story on Start Here, he got hit, he was injured, and they were doing surgery on him. And I'm like, damn, that sucks. You did this whole thing, and you literally just caught a stray car. The whole truck just winds up hitting you or whatever. And, now you're in surgery. I've come to find out, damn, you lost your leg? He comes back, though, in the wheelchair. He motivates another person by the name of Jackson Vaughn, who's 33. He said he's been in a wheelchair since he was 24, or since 2024. My bad. And he's been traveling with the monks. So it's they just acquired more monks. I don't know. I thought this was a whole vibe. And I know that maybe I can come off as anti-religion, especially in a lot of the situations and stories we wind up covering them in, right? But this is one of those situations where it is really nice and it's really sweet to see religion in action, and you see the action and you see the effect of that positive action, right? And I'm whatever these whatever these guys, gals, whatever these people believe in, I'm fucking with that. That's good energy. You know what I'm saying? You're not gonna get me to go on said walk, but I support that walk. That is very cool. I don't know. I'm glad that they were able to make it happen. And really kind of spread this message, in a really great way. I do believe that I think they have their trek back. Obviously, there's more details, but we're just gonna, right by it. Their return trip should be less arduous. After an appearance at Maryland's capital, a bus will take them back to Texas, where they expect to arrive in downtown Fort Worth early on Saturday. From there, the monks will walk together again, traversing 6 miles. To the temple where their trip began. So a bit of a full circle there, but obviously a quick, fast travel, via bus. So I think that overall, that's cool. I'm glad that also not only did they get a chance to do this positive message, spread this positive message, right? But that it had an effect on people, I think. I think that the people who kind of came out seemed to be very changed by that in a good way. And then also the people of other, religions and stuff. Once again, just having those kind of interfaith things, I think are very cool. I remember, of course I gotta make this about myself. Back in the day, and this is still something I appreciate and like doing, is I remember, having my Christian background and being obviously I love this life. I live this life. I will live this life my whole life. This is what I'm about. One of my favorite things was running into someone who was of a different faith and like getting to pick their brain and learn about their religion. I always thought that was so fascinating. Always in the back of my head, I'm like, I mean, this isn't my religion. That's not what I'm going for. But I think this is going to be so, like, it's so interesting to learn about it. And also, I just felt like it's the only way to really like get to know this person. And then if they're doing that and then I'm also committing to this exchange, then like something good is going to come out of this, right? Maybe they come over and I make a fisher of a man, fisher of man, whatever they used to say. I don't know. But yeah, I'm retired. Or at least out of practice. I don't know. But that was always an exercise that I always appreciated. So it's neat to see that in action. From a different perspective and actually see it go well. I don't know. So yeah, it gives me a warm, fuzzy feeling that I can appreciate. And there you go. That's our good news. Now, I mean, who knows what tomorrow will bring? It could get rough. It could get gully. All right. That's the episode for today. We won't go into any more side stories or tangents. How about that? If you'd like to help out support the effort, I do have a Patreon, patreon.com/Isaiah News. Become a newsie today. Free ways to hit me up, IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me or the podcast on any of the socials. Subscribe to the YouTube, follow on TikTok, follow on Spotify, follow on Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to listen. Leave a like, leave a cool comment. Sharing is caring. 5 stars on Spotify, 5 stars on Apple Podcasts are always appreciated. But if you don't do that, that's okay. It is appreciated all the same that you just made it this far. Even if you tuned in for like a minute and like you just no longer even want to listen to this blah, 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 but you like support me. You just like doing that and you're a homie. That's good vibes. That's good energy. This might as well be our walk for peace when you think about it. No. I really do appreciate you though. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.